Alright, guys, make una try settle in, because this is one of those stories that starts quietly, then slowly tightens its grip on your chest until you realize you've been holding your breath without knowing it. Nollywood has seen scandals, love triangles, loud fights, and dramatic walkouts, but this one arrived like a whisper in a crowded room, and somehow that whisper silenced everyone. No shouting. No insults. No screenshots. Just one decision that sent shockwaves through the industry and left fans staring at their screens asking the same question over and over again: what really happened here? When the news first surfaced that Pearl Watts had refused to work on a project simply because Sonia Uche was attached to it, people blinked twice. Some even laughed. In Nollywood, actors turn down roles every day, but there's usually a soft landing, a polite excuse, something like schedule conflict or creative differences. This wasn't that. This was clean, sharp, and uncomfortable. Pearl didn't dodge it. She didn't decorate it. She just said no, and that no landed like a spoon dropping inside a quiet kitchen at midnight. At first, fans genuinely thought it was one of those exaggerated online gists that would disappear after 24 hours. Pearl Watts. The calm one. The calculated one. The actress known for professionalism and composure. Refusing a project because of Sonia Uche. Sonia, who is talented, consistent, and widely loved. It sounded like a plot twist that didn't belong in the script. But then something strange happened. The story didn't die. Instead of fading, it grew legs. Quiet confirmation started coming in, not loudly, not officially, but just enough to make people uneasy. Industry whispers suggested the decision was real, intentional, and final. This wasn't an emotional outburst or a bad day choice. This was something Pearl had thought through, weighed carefully, and still stood by. What truly unsettled people wasn't the refusal itself, but Pearl's reaction to the chaos that followed. Or rather, her lack of reaction. No Instagram essays. No motivational quotes that suspiciously matched the situation. No interviews explaining her side. Just silence. And that silence felt heavy, like a door closing slowly but firmly, with no intention of reopening. In Nollywood, silence can be dangerous. Refusing a project can cost you goodwill, future roles, and relationships, especially when the other actor involved is respected. Pearl knew this. Everyone knew she knew this. So the question started burning hotter. What kind of reason makes someone accept all those risks without blinking? Fans did what fans always do. They picked sides. Some stood firmly with Pearl, arguing that no one owes the public access to their boundaries. They praised her for choosing herself in an industry that often rewards endurance over well-being. Others, especially Sonia's supporters, felt uncomfortable. They felt Sonia was being indirectly painted in a bad light without any explanation or defense. What made the situation even more confusing was the lack of visible history between the two women. No online beef. No cold interviews. No shady comments. No awkward red carpet moments people could point to and say, that's where it started. Publicly, everything looked normal, and that made the refusal feel like a sudden plot twist with missing scenes. Then insiders began using a phrase that only made things worse. Working principles. Those two words sounded mature, professional, and reasonable, yet they explained absolutely nothing. Instead, they opened the door to endless interpretations, each one more dramatic than the last. Some whispers claimed Pearl is extremely particular on set. Time-conscious, detail-oriented, emotionally disciplined. The type of person who notices energy shifts, unspoken tension, and repeated discomfort. According to these rumors, Pearl doesn't fight. She doesn't argue. She simply withdraws when something no longer feels right. Others pushed a different angle, suggesting the issue had nothing to do with behavior at all, but creative rhythm. They said Pearl prefers deep emotional immersion, strict focus, and structured delivery, while Sonia's style might be more fluid and expressive. Not wrong. Not bad. Just different. And sometimes, difference alone is enough to create friction. Then came the theory that hit closest to home for many people. Maybe Pearl is simply tired. Tired of stressful sets. Tired of forced harmony. Tired of pretending everything is fine when it isn't. At a certain stage in life and career, peace becomes more valuable than applause, and quiet becomes sweeter than claps. That explanation resonated deeply with fans who have stayed in uncomfortable workplaces just to pay bills. How many people have smiled through stress because walking away felt too risky? How many people wish they could say no without explaining themselves to the world? Still, Sonia's fans weren't convinced. They argued that refusing to work with someone automatically sends a message, whether intentional or not. A message that people will interpret, twist, and sometimes weaponize. And in this case, that message seemed to place Sonia at the center of a storm she didn't start. As days turned into weeks, social media turned into a full-blown investigation unit. Old interviews were replayed. Behind-the-scenes videos were slowed down. Red carpet interactions from years ago were suddenly dissected like crime evidence. A smile looked forced. A laugh sounded awkward. A handshake seemed too quick. Everything meant something now. Some of the conclusions were honestly funny. People who had never been on a film set were suddenly experts in on-set energy. People who can't arrive early to church were lecturing actors about punctuality. The exaggerations became part of the entertainment, even as the situation itself remained serious. Then accusations started flying. A group of fans accused Pearl of being elitist, suggesting she felt too big to work with certain actors. That accusation stung, because Pearl has always been described as grounded and respectful. For many, that label felt unfair and lazy. Others quickly shut that down, reminding everyone that saying no is not arrogance. It's awareness. Not every opportunity is meant to be taken. Not every collaboration is healthy. And choosing peace doesn't make you proud, it makes you honest. Throughout all of this, Sonia's online presence remained calm. She posted as usual. She smiled as usual. She worked as usual. And that calm unsettled people even more. Was she completely unbothered, or was she choosing grace over reaction? Did she know the reason already, or was she refusing to fuel the fire? Quietly, another detail emerged that shifted the entire narrative. Someone within the industry hinted that Pearl's decision wasn't about Sonia as a person, but about patterns she no longer tolerates. That statement changed everything. It suggested history, repetition, and build-up, not a single dramatic moment. People began to understand that sometimes professionals don't explode. They don't explain. They don't warn. They simply reach a point where they stop negotiating with discomfort and start acting in silence. Another layer entered the conversation when branding was mentioned. Pearl is known to be intentional about the stories she tells and the images she associates with. Some speculated that the project itself, combined with its energy and casting, didn't align with her long-term vision. If that's the case, then Sonia wasn't rejected as a person. She was simply part of a package Pearl chose not to open. Painful, yes. Personal, maybe not. Producers, however, reportedly didn't love the situation. Vague refusals make casting unpredictable. They feared a future where actors start declining projects based on co-stars, potentially disrupting production flow. Yet quietly, many actors applauded Pearl. They saw courage where others saw controversy. They saw someone exercising choice in an industry that often equates obedience with professionalism. Mental health soon entered the discussion, and that's when the story became deeply relatable. Actors shared experiences of staying on toxic sets because they feared being labeled difficult. Pearl's quiet refusal suddenly looked like a protest without placards. Still, confusion remained the loudest emotion among fans. No closure. No clear explanation. Just speculation swirling endlessly. Some worried about invisible divisions forming in Nollywood, where actors silently avoid each other while smiling publicly. Others believed this moment could force healthier conversations about compatibility, consent, and boundaries in creative spaces. Interestingly, younger actors began speaking up, saying Pearl's decision gave them courage. Courage to say no. Courage to choose peace. Courage to trust their instincts. At the same time, many felt uneasy that Sonia's name was being dragged through endless debates without her saying a word. Silence can protect, but it can also leave wounds unseen. As weeks passed, the shock softened. People stopped demanding villains and started accepting complexity. Not every story has a bad guy. Sometimes, two professionals simply don't align. Sometimes, choosing yourself looks selfish from the outside. Sometimes, silence is the only language left. Pearl Watts didn't shout. She didn't explain. She didn't perform her pain for public consumption. She simply chose herself. And that quiet choice did something loud. It shook Nollywood. It sparked conversations. It made people uncomfortable. If this story made you pause, laugh, argue, or reflect, don't just scroll away like nothing happened. Drop your thoughts in the comments, like this video, and subscribe, because stories like this remind us that behind the lights, the scripts, and the smiles, real people are making real choices, and trust me, there are many more stories waiting to be told.